Hi everyone, how are you today? It is wonderful that you are here. It is wonderful to be here. And I'm really excited today to talk about the soul art of animal communication, or as sometimes it is known as interspecies communication. A lot is talked about communicating with nature, with animals, with communicating with our guides, our angels, light beings, loved ones, in other realms, in interdimensional realms, in parallel realities, and also we have extraterrestrial beings as well. And we also have angels and fairies, and there are so many different realms that we can connect to. But right now, we're having a really hard time just even beginning to communicate with ourselves and communicate with each other without some sort of projection, understanding and learning to understand the reflection of what's happening outside of ourselves. We're assigning blame to things when we're hurting, and it's all okay. It's our way of beginning to learn. It's beginning to learn how to communicate differently. This is much bigger than just learning to communicate with our animals. This is about learning how to communicate deeper with ourselves, and of course with all of nature, with the world, with all dimensions, with all realms, with all beings, physical and non-physical. So I hope that doesn't seem like it's too huge, but this is such a beautiful place to begin, because our animals, of course, don't speak our language, but they are around us, and we feel their love. And they give us comfort, and hopefully we give them comfort as well. Something to remember with the animals that we have in our lives, with domesticated animals, which is really just any animal that lives with us, is that they have given up their right, that's not the right word, but they've given up their ability to source their own food, and they have handed that power to us. And what a power! Isn't that an amazing thing to do? To start with, it's just truly amazing that I am so in honor and have such great gratitude that an animal would trust me enough to do that. And I know it can seem a bit of a silly thing, but think about it. Think about yourself. Have we given our we haven't quite done it all yet, but have we given our ability away to source our own food? It is such a huge, it's so huge. And of course it all began with wolves back in the day, when humans were hunting, and the wolves were around as well, packs of wolves. And it was like they all came to this way of being, that if the scraps were given to the wolves would then protect the group as well. So the domestication of dogs, of course, began in that place. So that's where that all came from. And so it is an amazing trust, but also something to remember is that it's not that they've handed their power over, they just trust that the food will be provided, and we're the providers. So And of course, the animals will give us, they'll protect us, they'll look after us, and they'll give us comfort. Something just as an aside, I used to work in I was an assistant manager of a gym at one stage. I do lots of different things. I'm always going out there into the world to try different things. And we actually had a section where people could bring their dogs, and us who were working on reception would look after the dogs as well. And we had training to do that. Because the area I lived in the inner suburbs of Sydney, people probably have more dogs than children. So it was just a service that we did. But what I noticed after the lockdowns and after we were all, coming back into, coming out of the lockdowns, a lot of people had brought dogs and animals that had never had one before and had no idea what to do with them and how to train them, how to look after them. And we had a big problem that people were bringing their dogs in when they went to the gym, but these dogs couldn't even sit or stay. They had no idea what to do. They were unruly. They had separation anxiety. It was, it really was a bit of a mess. And so I actually taught some of my staff to train the dogs and just to sit with the dogs, be very calm and not expect anything from them. But you also had to have a calm, assertive way about you, because otherwise the dogs would tend to try and get round you like kids do. As well. It's like, give me a treat, give me this, give me that. Anyway, I am going a bit off track there, but that is just some of my experiences. I've also had Dobermans, and at the moment I have a Tonkinese cat. It's the second Tonkinese cat I've had. So I used to be a dog person, and then I was in a situation where I couldn't have a dog, so a girlfriend talked me into getting a cat, which I was not like, really, I don't know if I want a cat. And I realised that, and I brought a Tonkinese, which is they're a breed on their own, but they're made up of Siamese and Burmese cats. And I was surprised that this cat followed me around, and I was floored. It was a big learning curve for me, and I've realised, of course, cats are just as much, not so much pack animals like dogs, but they certainly want to have company, and they certainly are part of the family, and they're not the loners that people will have you think that they are. Yes, there are certain things that you can't do with a cat that you can do with a dog. Cats will certainly tell you when they've had enough and when they don't want to be patted anymore. But of course, that was also a good thing for me, because I was relying too much on my animals to make me feel good. And that's a segue into what I wanted to talk about. Too many of us look to our animals to make us feel good. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you've got to look at it from the animal's point of view. Are you just using them to make you feel good instead of you making you feel good and then playing with the animal? So what do I mean by that? When I was a child, my mother would often say to me, "Come here and give me a cuddle. It makes me feel better." And I hated it because I was only very young and I didn't understand boundaries. And so I just sort of gave everything to my mum and wanted her to feel better, obviously. And so when she cuddled me, it wasn't out of, isn't this a wonderful relationship we have? It was, you're making me feel better. You're making me feel loved. You're making me feel like I am worthy. And this is not to have a go at my mum, because she had a lot of issues about understanding how to love herself. She didn't love herself. She didn't like herself. And she would often say to me, "You are a source of love for me. You make me feel better when you're around." And of course, all that did was make me feel like I don't want to be around her, because I just felt like my energy was being drained every time I was around her. I didn't understand that for a lot of years. And of course, I was giving it to her as well because I didn't have boundaries up. But as a child, you don't know that. And I was exhausted. And it's like, I just don't want that. Because, and she would say to me, "Oh, I love you, And it's like, well, I don't really feel very loved. I just feel like I'm responsible for someone else's happiness. So the reason I'm telling you that is because, do you do that to your animals? I can remember one of my Dobermans, a male Doberman, Teddy was his name, because he was like a big teddy bear. He was a beautiful animal and very focused on me and very we had this wonderful connection. Now, when I was feeling down, I would run after him and say, "Oh, give me a cuddle. I want to be cuddled. Give me," just like my mum did to me. I was doing to my dog until I realised. And then and my husband at the time would say to me, "If you could see the look on this dog's face, it's like, oh, really? Do we have to do this again?" And I'd say, "Oh no, he loves me, and he makes me feel good." But of course, I look back on that and I think, what on earth was I doing to that poor animal? I was making it feel exactly the same way that I did when my mother wanted to feel love from me. Now, there's nothing wrong with cuddling your animals. There's nothing wrong with cuddling your children. Nothing wrong with any of that. But it's your intention as you go into it. So that's the first thing I'm going to talk about, is that we need to be in balance before we interact with anything. Before we even interact with ourselves, before we even ask the question of ourselves. If something comes up in your life and you feel out of balance and you feel like, I don't want this in my life, or I want this in my life, you have moved to one way or the other. Now, and this is why we meditate, to help us come back into our center, to help us to be calm and centered in who we are. And then we interact. I can tell you that, just a little analogy, is I used to say that I used to love going to the park, because the park where I live is around water. And I love going down there because it makes me feel good. And I had a spiritual teacher that said to me, "Okay, well, before you do that, why don't you just spend 5 minutes meditating? 5 minutes coming into center with yourself. Just take a few deep breaths, ground your energy, and you can even imagine that, that you're drawing in the light of the universe, or even the sun, the rays of the sun, and you're drawing that in, and it's flowing all the way through you into the ground. And just feel grounded and centered, and then go to the park. And then I had to report back what I felt, what I experienced. And I was floored, because when I went to the park, I was in this beautiful centered place and I had the most amazing experiences. The water seemed clearer. I talked to lots of people and everyone was beautiful. Everyone was wonderful. And I had these amazing interactions. And I talked to trees all the time, but I somehow was able to just connect with the trees much quicker. And what I learned from that is that often we look to things outside of ourselves to make ourselves feel better. And that is a way for us to understand our preferences in life and how we want to feel. But we don't want to lean on anything. We don't want to think that thing's going to make me happy. It's spending 5 minutes to just take a few deep breaths and then interact. And just try it this week and see what happens when in your conversations with people, in your interactions with your animals, in your interactions with nature. Just try it out. Because if we are relying on something outside of ourselves to make us feel better, we're out of balance, and we've got to come back into balance first before we feel better, and then have the experiences. But what if somebody is having a bad day? What if something is not going well for the animal, or the animal's having a bad day? We're leaning on something to make us feel good, and then getting upset because we're not getting the result. So start with your first. So that was a bit of a strange segue, I know, but that is the way that we begin to really connect with our animals on a heart level. So this whole process is a sacred, intuitive, and joyful way to bridge hearts, the heart between ourselves and our animals, and across all species. You don't need to be psychic, because you already are psychic. You just need to be open. Everyone is psychic. We all have these abilities within us. It is inherent to the human condition. And more of us are beginning to understand that. And really all that means is your psychic senses read energy. So your physical senses read the outside world. They interpret the outside world, and your psychic senses interpret the inner world, the world of vibration, resonance, and energy, what we can't see with our eyes. I'm in the middle of moving interstate at the moment, so between Dave, that's my cat, and myself, we're a little bit out of balance, and I'm trying to make a safe space for him, and tell him I've got his back, and he'll be with me no matter what happens. But he's still a little bit out of sorts because, of course, I'm moving lots of things. And as you can see, if anyone's been to my sessions before, normally my bookcases are filled with books, but I've of course started to pack them. So let's think of this as a language beyond words. We often wish our animal friends could speak, so that we could ask what they need, or what they feel, or just simply thank you. This work, this inner work, inner growth, personal development, is a lifetime of work. You are like a canvas that you are creating a masterpiece, and it is you're constantly painting, and maybe repainting, maybe starting a new painting, and things get easier. Things get easier to do. You get to know yourself more. But the whole purpose of being here as a human is to experience the contrast of life, so that we can create something better for ourselves, for our soul's journey, for the experience, for the human condition. And animals are much more connected to their center than we are. Doesn't mean they're better, doesn't mean they know things more. That's just their agenda. So what I mean by that is we have the ability to have greater contrast. So we have this way of being, this is humans I'm talking about, humans have the duality of contrast, of good and bad, because that's how we measure things in life. But because we have the ability to have this greater contrast, it gives us the ability to ask bigger questions and create bigger things. You know, you're never going to get a dog that comes along and say, well, actually, I think I'd like a second floor on my kennel, or I think I'd like a pool, or I think I'd like that, because they are much more centered within themselves. They don't have that greater contrast. So they're relying more on their instinct and just what makes them feel good in the moment. I hope that makes sense. And it doesn't mean they're better, and it doesn't mean they're worse, and it doesn't mean that they can't create things, because they have their own agenda. We all are the same life force. The same life force flows through everything. we just flows into a different container and has a different agenda. So it's something to just be aware of. I might say some weird things today about animals and about communication, but I'm always here to help you see things from a different point of view. And Tracy, I'm just reading chats again. So Tracy, if you hug your animals and they make you feel better, that's wonderful. But do it when they come to you. Don't go to them. And just be aware of the energy. That's all. And, maybe give yourself a hug to make yourself feel better. And see if the animal comes to you. And I'm going to give you, we're going to do a meditation, but I'm just going to give you some techniques to actually connect with your animals more as well. And Chantal is saying, my cats do speak. The more you spend time with them, the more you understand their needs with meows. Oh, yes, yes. And of course, my cat's half Siamese, so he never shuts up. So he's always chatting away to me, but I'm aware of when he's in pain and when he's not. Yes, and Hayley, it's helpful to think about the understanding that there are ups and downs on the life's journey. But just because something goes awry or you're challenged doesn't mean you've done anything wrong, and it doesn't mean you're being punished. It just means that you now have the ability, because you're sensitive, to figure out whether this thing is for me or not. Because we've been taught many things growing up. We've been given many beliefs and many ways that we think we have to live our life. And so if you apply that and it doesn't work out, it's just helping you to understand that, well, maybe this is not the way for me. But it's helping me to get clearer with the way I want to live. So it's just looking at things from a more, I'll say, positive point of view, because challenges can really help you to understand yourself more. And when I talk about positive, I'm not talking about spiritual bypassing, sticking your head in the sand and saying, oh, everything's beautiful and lovely. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we sit in whatever comes up, good, bad, indifferent, and we get to know ourselves more so that we can become more of who we are. And the more you are connected to you, the more your animals will connect to you in a really loving and different way. Not that they're not being loving now. I have watched a lot of my friends' animals become more stressed out, become more, what would be the word? A lot of dogs can become very protective, and often dogs become overly protective of their owners because their owners have a weak energy. And I don't mean they're weak people, but they have a weak energy. And because, of course, going back to what the animals are looking for food and looking for shelter with us, and if their owner, if they're what they see as a pack leader, if their leader is not leading, they are going to do whatever they can to protect them so that they can be looked after. And so if an owner or if a leader has a weak energy, and when I mean weak, I'm just saying that they're not centered in who they are. They might be taking the dog for a walk and freaking out that the dog might attack other people, or it might do something that it's not meant to be doing, because you've split your energy and you're not centered. You're not being a leader energy. Because we want to give the animals a safe space to be who they are. We don't want them to have to, constantly be looking at us, being hypervigilant like I was with my mother and my father. My father had PTSD from the Second World War. And constantly hypervigilant I was, thinking, okay, how am I going to act? What am I going to do so that they feel okay? Because if they blew up, I would feel really uncomfortable and unsafe. So again, think about your interactions with your animals. This has gone on a strange place this morning, but I just channel whatever comes. So I hope that helps people to understand that if a dog is sitting at their feet and growling at people that come near them or barking at people that come near them, sometimes people will say, oh, my dog loves me so much, look, it's sitting at my feet. But learn the language, because they're sitting there because they feel they have to protect you. And I know that a lot of us like that because it makes us feel loved and needed. But we don't want to do that to our animals, because I can tell you, when growing up like that, it made me a people pleaser. It made me wanting to go out and make everyone feel good. And of course, that's not my place to do that. My place is to help love and support people through things, but not to do it for them, and not to judge them if they're going through a difficult time, or be envious of them if they're going through a wonderful time. My job is just to be in that centered place and allow all things to be as they are. I'm human, of course. I'm going to have my preferences now and again, but I call myself out on them. So, and again, this is all just about getting to know yourself more. So, goodness gracious. Oh yes, cats are protected too. Yes. Oh yes, yes. And of course that's different too, because mine goes out every morning. He does the perimeter, and he checks that his area is okay. That's different to feeling like they have to protect you all the time. Cats are going to be less likely to do that anyway than dogs, but it's just, whatever I say here today, you don't have to agree with. I'm just here to help you see things from a different point of view, and maybe from an animal's point of view. And I'm using myself as a child of being hypervigilant and feeling like I had to make everyone in my household feel happy in order for me to feel safe. I'm using that as an analogy. So, I often say to my cat, it's okay. Dave is his name. It's okay, Dave. I've got your back. You can be whoever you are and whatever you want to be. Oh, that's right. I think we're a lot of us in this arena are recovering people pleasers. And I've done healing work for 30 years, and I've taught Reiki for 12 years, and I've done lots of things over the years. But I understand that in the coming years, we are going to probably connect with different species, and this is just really getting to know ourselves more. And we can talk about extraterrestrial species if you like, but we can't talk to anyone else until we learn to even communicate with ourselves. And something to think about: how would you explain yourself to an ant? Ants are amazing creatures. If you want to know if it's going to rain, if you want to know what the temperature's doing, watch ants, and learn from them, and learn from the community that they are in. And they're strong and truly amazing creatures. Every creature on this earth is amazing. That includes you, because you have something that only you can offer this world at this time, and it will never be there again. So yes, how would you explain yourself to an ant? It is, and thank you, Chantel. In sewing, in my upbringing, though, gave me purpose in life. I left home very early. I started work at 15, and I left home early because I didn't want to be around my parents. I loved my parents. They had their own way of being. But I didn't want to live under their rules, because they didn't seem very happy. And for me, it was like, there must be another way to live my life. There must be another way to live. And of course, I've been doing that ever since, and it's taken me it's taken me on this path, and I'm truly grateful. And also my mother was allergic to every animal on earth, couldn't even have birds. I did have reptiles, which I learnt to love. And I wanted a dog. So I couldn't be that. So let's get back to what we're doing today. When I said we often wish our animal friends could speak. So this concept is called interspecies communication. It's a natural ability that we all carry. It's energetic, emotional, and symbolic, like a soul-to-soul radio frequency. So animals don't speak our language. They don't use human logic. And often we apply human psychology onto our animals, which is doing them such a disservice. We have to learn about their own psychology. They don't use human logic, but they do use feelings, images, sound frequencies, scent, touch, and instinct. It's a shared consciousness that we can tap into. It's like one source of many expressions. As I said earlier, the same life force flows through all of us. So every life form, whether that be animals, dragonflies, stars, crystals, trees, plants, has their own consciousness stream. When we align with our heart, and this is why I was talking about why it's so important to come back to our center. When we align with our hearts and our center and listen beyond words, the communication will begin. Now, it can seem really subtle to start with, and people say to me, is it all in my head? And it's like, well, it's okay, because everything's in your head. Everything flows from you. Everything flows from your perception of the world. So the way that you see the world is all coming from your head anyway. So, we've just got used to the thoughts in our head being projected into something physical, and the physicalness we have taken that something is real. But of course, we're now beginning to realize that energy is real, vibrations are real, everything is real. The way that animals communicate is real. And we're showing that in our humanness because we're beginning to understand mental illness. For years, people just didn't take any notice of it because they couldn't see it. But now we're beginning to realize that it is real. Just because we can't see something doesn't mean that it isn't real. But we are beginning to tap in and sense it. And of course, this is all our intuitive and psychic senses that we're opening up to more and more. Because an animal doesn't speak your language, we must learn to communicate in a more general way. For instance, and with images and with symbols and in a more different way. So for instance, if you were in a country where you didn't speak the language, how would you ask where the toilet is? I mean, you could gesticulate wildly and do some charades. However, if you drew a picture of a toilet, the other person would know what you were communicating and direct you to hopefully, to the nearest public toilets. So, maybe animals see symbols as well. Well, of course they do. And pictures. So the next time you are around your animal, try this. In your mind's eye, create a picture filled with kindness and curiosity that portrays you introducing yourself to your animal. You can even just, imagine that you call your animal by name. Imagine that you see your animal, you see yourself, and you just say, hello, your animal's name. And it's beautiful to meet you this way. I am, whatever. And just introduce yourself and just say, I'm trying this out. I'm introducing myself in a new way. What would you like to be called? You can try all sorts of different things. And then just keep your eyes closed and just imagine that you're sending it to the animal. Now, the animal doesn't have to be in the room with you, doesn't have to be next to you, it can be outside playing, but just send it for about 30 seconds and see what happens. It's just a little exercise that you can do, and it's getting you used to communicating with symbols and pictures. And yes, animals can learn word association with things that you want them to do, but it's not that they understand the word and what the word means like we do. It's just an association. So, if you're in your own language, you could get an animal to sit, stay, walk, do whatever, and it is more of a word association than an understanding. And always remember that we don't want to put too much of our human psychology onto animals and say, oh, look at that, they understand me, they love me, because we've got to look at it from their point of view. Autism is helping us to understand that we need to communicate differently as well with humans. So this is all about understanding what it is that, yes, well, Chantel, that's wonderful. You use a bell and, like Pavlov's response, so that they know it's feeding time, treat time, and time to come in. So, yes, and that's their association with that. And that is the training that you've put them through. Talking about training, I have always with my animals, because I had when I took my first dog to be trained. Well, that's wonderful, Chantel. So when I had my first dog and we went to training, I had an amazing trainer. And this trainer said to me, okay, you've got to get this animal ready to go to a vet, to do anything in life, so that it doesn't get stressed out. So when you're feeding them, sometimes stop them from eating, put your hand in the food. This is when they're a puppy or even a kitten. I've done it with my cats as well. And then take your hand out and just get them used to hands being around their face, especially around food time, because they can get very protective over their food. Put your fingers in their ears, check their ears out, check their claws out, check them out from time to time. Get them to go in a cage, get them to come out of a cage. Harder with cats, but both my cats are fine, because I live in apartments, and if the alarms go off, I've got to get them as quickly as possible. So they know to just come in the cage and out we go. It does take a lot of work and it does take training, but what it means is that when I go to the vet, it's not so stressful. Yes, Dave certainly doesn't like going to the vet, but he knows that it's just a natural process of well, not natural, it's just a process that we need to go through. So this is all about getting animals ready. Just like we get ready, we teach our children how to work, how to get ready for life. We want to do it with the animals as well. So anyway, that was just good of that. So, and as Chantel is saying, she uses a bell. So that has been some training that she has done. And just as an aside note for rescue animals, I've had rescue animals. I wish I had more time and space to have more rescue animals, but I don't. I work incredibly hard. I work incredibly long, I shouldn't say I work hard. I work long hours, and I don't have the time or the energy to honour a rescue animal. We often think that if we rescue an animal, they'll be grateful because they have a nice home. But you don't know what they've gone through. And they take a lot of energy, not all of them, but it can take a lot of energy to be consistent in what you do, to create a safe space for them so that they can come out of their shell and begin to feel much more centered and calm in life. And so I know it's an honourable thing to do, but make sure you have a plan set in place and that you have enough time and energy to make this animal feel safe and secure, and be more responsible with our animals as well, so that there isn't so many dogs and cats out on the street that are in shelters. Just a public service announcement there. But be aware of it is an honourable thing, as I said, to have a rescue animal. But I had one rescue animal that I had to give up again because I could not keep her in, and I didn't have the resources in myself. I didn't understand at that time. I've done a lot of work, and I would now, how to look after her, how to make her feel safe, and I couldn't keep her in. She was a German Shepherd. She was attacking everyone else in the household. She was attacking all the other dogs, and in the end, it was one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever had to do, but I had to take it back. I just didn't know what to do. And at that time, that was back in the 80s, we didn't have the resources that we do now. We didn't have the dog trainers that we do now. And I was just at a wit's end. And so it's just something to be aware of. Do your research. Do your research. So we have, what was I saying? Oh, yes. So, yes, keep a picture make a picture in your head and connect with your animal. Yeah. And that's beautiful, Molly. And I'm so glad that people have the time and space. And that's when I retire. Don't know when that is, because I'm 60 this year and I'm still going at 100 miles an hour. That I would love to be able to have a big space to take on more animals that are in need of rescue, and humans as well, and plants. People think I'm a bit old when I say that, but with all the genetically modifying that's going on with plants, I want plants to be able to be in their own space and become who they want to become as well. It's all life, and it's all life force. Okay. I've just got something written here about when animals shake. So when animals shake, they're releasing overwhelming or traumatic events to return to a balanced way of being. Something's happened that's taken them out of balance, and they do a shake and then they come back. So if they ran around in a fearful state, if they hang on to this out of balance energy, they would be skittish and easy pickings for predators if they were out in the wild. Right. So the next time you feel overwhelmed or have an excess of negative energy, do what an animal does. Shake it off. Shake it out, as Taylor tells us to do. Try swinging your arms around and wiggling your hips vigorously. Flick your arms, flick your fingers, and imagine that you see any excess negative energy just flying from your fingertips. Learn from animals, wonderful. Do it for about 30 seconds and then, see how you feel. You can even write or draw in your journal about how you felt before the exercise and after as well. So, beautiful thing to learn from animals. So, to communicate with animals, we must first balance our own energy, which is what I've been saying. Animals read us vibrationally. They read our energy, not by what we say, but by how we feel. So they are a wonderful barometer about what you're creating in your life through what you're manifesting as well. So it is, if you're hanging on to a lead and you're stressed out on the lead, I don't know what this animal's going to do, the dog will feel that, and it'll be in hypervigilant mode, and it'll be looking around and thinking, well, what's going to happen? And it will tend to lunge and it will tend to bark. So we've got to learn to relax and not get the dog overly excited before you go for a walk. And I know that that's hard because, dogs get very excited. But it's not raised their, you can think of their energy level as being 10 or 0, 10 being their most, out of control, running around like nutcases, doing zoomies everywhere, and it's, my cat does that as well. I think all animals do that. But you want to get the energy level down to about 5 or 4 before you walk out of the house. And you start that by you coming into balance first. This is meant to be about communicating with animals, but somehow it's turned into a training session. So I do apologise, but I'll come back. So we want to become a clear channel, which is what I'm talking about there. To communicate, we've got to balance our own energy first. So if you're anxious, they feel it. If you're calm, they trust it. This is why we start with presence, breath, and intentional focus. So before you connect with your animal, before you even go to them and say, we're going for a walk, breathe in golden light from the sun above your head and let it wash through you and just clear your field. Just clear all of you. And you can imagine sending this light to your animal friend as well. And just allow yourself to be grounded and centered. And just observe their response as well. It's really is just learning to look at them, feel yourself, and then observe what their reaction is to that. So the next thing is we're learning to send and receive. So sending is, so once you've balanced yourself, then we learn to send information, and then we learn how to receive. So if you can, as I said earlier, you picture a loving something in your head. It might be an introduction, it might be a memory, it might be a message, and just feel it in your body and hold it in your mind's eye, and then just project that image or feeling to your animal's heart. Just imagine that you're sending it to their heart, to their soul. And just see what happens. Just play with that. And then when we're receiving from the animal, we got to tune in again to our balanced place and just wait. It might happen in your sleep, in a dream. It might happen instantaneously. It might happen an hour or so later. But just don't get too caught up on the outcome. And know that you may sense the information coming from your animal as colours, emotions, images, sounds, physical senses. Just don't judge any of it, just receive it. However it comes is real for you. Let your imagination be the translator, and know that you don't have to explain this to anyone else. And because your experience of this is very real. You may not be able to prove it in the outside world, but it doesn't matter. It's whatever it feels like to you. So that's the 3 simple steps. Simple steps, difficult to do because we have been taught to converse in a certain way. But the first thing is you become just as clear as you possibly can, and just practice that on a daily basis. And if any of you want to know more about how to do that, especially with dogs, look up Caesar Milan's work. You may not like a lot of the stuff that he does, but he is really clear with you have to become calm and assertive for your animals. You have to create a safe space for them so that they can become whoever they want to be. And really that's what, as parents, to human children or to animal children or to plants, to whatever, to nature, that is your job, is to be as calm and as assertive as you can. And that doesn't mean that we don't get emotional and we don't cry. It just, you be as honest as you possibly can with you, and you create a safe space for children, for animals, for everyone around you to be who they are without judgment. And that's unconditional love. And so his work is quite interesting. You may not always agree with it, but that's okay. Take the bits that resonate and leave the rest on the path, as you are learning today. with me. I saw him live years ago when he came to Australia, and his energy he's not a very tall man, but he is just so grounded in himself, so confident. At Caesar Milan, just look up The Dog Whisperer. He had a TV show 20 years ago, called The Dog Whisperer. But he is just so confident in him, not in a narcissistic way, not in a, I'm so good way, but just, when you're around people who are just so connected to who they are, and they can just, and because of that, you feel like you can be who you are because there's no judgment. Then they don't need anything from you, and they're not trying to make you be anything that you're not. They're just being who they are in their space and honouring you in your space, which of course is what Namaste means. And of course, Jackson Galaxy for cats as well. Audrey, yes, he's lovely as well. His work is really great. Both of them you can look up on YouTube and find out some just really interesting things. Both of those trainers, people, whatever you want to call them, have helped me to look at things from different points of view when it comes to animals. So we become the clear channel. We become centered and balanced. And then in your mind, you create a picture, symbol, and you just imagine that you're projecting that to the animal. You're learning how to communicate with your energy. And I know that this can take a little bit of time, but we're going to do the meditation in a moment. And then you receive. You open your heart to receive whatever comes without judgment. And the more that you do this, the more that you will get clearer with what a colour means, with what a symbol means. And this goes for when you're connecting with your angels, your guides, your light beings, your loved ones, and your animals and nature. It is all the same process. And so maybe animals are a little bit more cleverer in that. It's more so that they are much more balanced with who they are. But we don't want to, we are projecting more and more of our humanness onto them, and they are beginning to take that on. So be aware of that, which is why we've got animals with mental illness issues now, and people are starting to drug their animals. And, all we need to do is come back into balance with ourselves, because the animal is just a reflection of who we are. So decide who you are. Oh. So I think we'll go into the meditation now. Thank you if you're still with me, because that went in a bit of a weird old place today. However, that's just, I always have everything written down. I always have, a plan that I'm going to do. It generally just goes out the window. But anyway, but it is there, and I try to come back to it as much as I can. So, I'm glad, Hayley. All I really want people to know is that the same life force that flows through you, flows through your animals, flows through nature, flows through everything, flows through fairies, guides, angels, light beings, intergalactic beings, parallel realities. It is the same energy, it's the same life force, because it's all flowing from the source. Right, I'm just getting a message. Okay, so this is a little bit off track, but it's coming through as it's important for the people that are here to hear this. The source, of course, is God, if you want to call it that, the universe. It is who we are. We are all streams of consciousness that flow from the source as a way for it to get to know itself more, to expand, to grow. And we're all individual streams of that. And as we step into the age of Aquarius, we're becoming more and more understanding our individual way of being, and that we're not separate from the source. And the source also wants you to know that you are the source. You are God. There's a lot of stuff connected to the word God, so I don't tend to say it much. And your animals are that as well. They're part of the source. Everything that has a living force flowing through it is all part of the source. We all just have different agendas, and we're all, it's like that living energy is just flowing into different containers. Now, when you say I am, you are saying, you are using the energy of the source, because the source or God is I am. So when you say I am this, I am that, I am lacking, I am that, that's what you are. That's what you create. And again, you don't have to believe anything I'm saying, but it's just to become aware of what you say to yourself, because that's what you're creating. I am poor. I don't have enough money. I am lacking in something. And of course, you'll just get more of lacking. You'll get more of being poor. Because when you say I am, you are, that's the energy, the essence of the source. And that's what you're projecting onto this reality. So anyway, you can look that up on YouTube. I'm just trying to think of the person's name. It'll come to me in a minute. Actually, I'll just look it up so I can tell you. So while I'm looking that up, if you want to get yourself comfortable, and I'll find it and I'll put it up on the, what is his name? Oh, it'll come to me. Anyway, doesn't matter. Maybe it's time for you to do your own research. But it is just, as I said, it's just something to think about. Yeah, and Deepak, he's another interesting person live as well. But this is all really leading us into the idea that reality may not be what we think it is. That it's not as real as what we think it is, and it's more of a what we can talk about, holographic or simulation. But a lot of people don't like it when I say things like that, because they feel that it's not real. But of course, you have to remember that life essentially doesn't really mean anything, but your experience of it is so important and so needed and so real and really important to you and your soul's journey, as it is for animals as well. So maybe animals choose us. So I've gone on a bit. So I'm going to, as you get comfortable, this is the Divine Animals card from my card deck, which is The Secret Language of Light, written by me. So so I'll read this out and then we'll go into the meditation. Soul companions on your journey. Spend time with your animal or in the company of any animal to realize the same light that flows through you flows through all living creatures. We all create different containers for our soul experiences, depending on our individual desires and dreams. Humans Humans experience greater contrast than animals. This is why our influence and creations are wider reaching. However, this also makes it easier for us to split and stray from our hearts. Animals reflect the divine love that we are. When we are around animals, it is easier to move into alignment, where we can be inspired to grander creations. People often believe they receive unconditional love from an animal. As an animal is more likely to be aligned with its soul instinct and doesn't need you to be different to who you are for it to feel loved, you will feel free to be who you are. When you emulate this behavior for yourself, life becomes more relaxed, loving, and your relationships will catapult to a whole new level of joy. So that's just the divine animals from The Secret Language of Light. So when you feel ready, just gently, gently close your eyes. Now your animal friend can be with you. They can be with you in the room, or they can be in another room, they can be outside, they can be on the other side of the world. Let them be wherever they are. They are natural meditators and will easily connect with you. They'll easily be able to tune in. So if you're sitting down, just turn your palms over now, facing upward to receive wisdom and light from your animal. If you're lying on the floor, do the same thing. Just put your palms face up. And if you haven't done so yet, just gently close your eyes and imagine that your eyeballs are completely relaxed as your eyelids close over. And as you relax into this meditation, just open your heart and your mind to the following words. We are all one. Life is life, flowing from the same source, manifesting as different species. We are all streams of uniqueness, ever expanding love and light, experiencing our own path to understand life in new and varied forms. Take a deep breath in and breathe out. And imagine that the sun is just flowing down. The rays of the sun are flowing down upon you. Golden rays of light. And you might feel the top of your head beginning to tingle as these rays of light flow down and your crown chakra begins to open and expand. And as you breathe in, imagine you're breathing in the rays of the sun. Beautiful, warming, healing, golden light. And as you breathe in, you breathe it in through your whole body. And as you breathe out, you feel it flowing from the bottom of your feet into the earth. As you breathe in more and more of this beautiful golden healing light. Let it flow all the way through you, out the bottom of your feet, and as you breathe out, you feel it move into the earth. And imagine it spiraling all the way down to the centre of our earth, to the heart of Mother Earth, of Gaia. And Mother Earth thanks you for anchoring this beautiful light onto the earth today, for the healing, the balancing, the centering of you and of all things on and within the planet and Gaia herself. The more you help to heal yourself, the more you help to heal all creatures, all humans, the earth. Breathe in light and breathe out light. You are light and you are love. You are beginning to connect with your own uniqueness and love. And as you do this, it becomes easier and easier to communicate with all life forms. You're feeling their originality instead of trying to communicate through your opinions, values, and conclusions. Take your focus to your heart and breathe that golden light into your heart. And allow your heart to expand and open. And let your heart just gently flow up into your mind. Let your mind and your heart merge to find your own loving wisdom. Just feel that beautiful golden light creating your own unique loving wisdom, your way of communicating with yourself and with all. Feel yourself moving deeper and deeper, deeper and deeper into your heart-mind connection. You are so much more than you think you are. Allow yourself to feel relaxed and calm. Feeling all tension and tightness just melting away. You are ready, you are safe to experience whatever you may. Feel your mind softening, letting go, as you become more and more at peace with who you are and all living things. And now take yourself to a beautiful place in nature, a place that makes you feel peaceful and calm. Notice the beauty that is all around you. and feel around with your mind's eye, your mind-heart wisdom, for an energy spot, a place to sit or lie down. This is your power spot. As you lie or sit on your power spot, you feel even more grounded and centered. There is no one you need to be, there is nothing you need to do except to just simply be in this moment. Sending and receiving your energy. And be open to receiving the energy of your animal friend, your animal companion. Allow yourself to feel more and more relaxed. And imagine those beautiful rays of golden light just flowing down, waves of relaxation and peace flow over and within you, these golden rays of the sun. You might even like to look at your hands and notice that they are glowing, that they are shining. You are vibrating. You may even begin to feel yourself just gently, subtle vibration moving through you as you begin to realize that you are light, that you are vibrating. Look down at the rest of your body and see that the rest of your body is also shining. How beautiful are you? You are aligning with the fullness of you. All restriction and resistance is floating away. And your soul expression is coming to the surface. The qualities of your soul, of love, knowingness and bliss are becoming. You are becoming more of you. This is how animals sense you, through the energy that you emit. You begin to feel or sense the energy of your animal friend now. They are here with you. You can ask them to sit or lie with you. And just feel them settle next to you and feel the same golden loving light that flows to you, emanating from your animal friend. Just be, enjoying this space. You begin to sense the words inside of you. This feels good. It feels like a natural conversation with yourself, but you know you didn't say it. This was your animal friend talking to you. It is not like talking in the physical sense. You tuned into the frequency of the animal. And now you can receive and intercept energetic impulses that the animal creates. You are beginning to translate the energy. And you can imagine it as pictures in your mind. Just play with this as a child would. There is no right or wrong. Now, imagine that you place your hands upon your animal friend. Golden healing light flows from the universe into you, the rays of the sun. And you are now offering this to your animal. Your beautiful animal friend easily opens to receive love and light, and they place a paw on you to give you healing also. Feel that energetic connection between the two of you. Give and receive love from your animal as they receive and give love to you. And allow your animal to share their intuitive wisdom with you and remind you that all living creatures are much more than you think. We are all more than we think we are. So in this beautiful space, we'll just be silent for a minute or so that you can send and receive and just be with your animal and the essence of your soul. It is now time to leave this beautiful place in nature deep within you. Know that you can visit this place whenever you want to. Embrace and say goodbye to your animal friend. And just before they run off into the distance, ask them what is something that they really want you to know today. A special message just for you today. And then you just watch as they gently run off into the distance. A golden misty light springs up and encircles you. This is the energy of you and your animal combined. It is the energy of unconditional love, and the two of you have created a new relationship that you will now notice in the physical world. Take that with you as you begin to come back to this moment. Allow yourself to float on the golden mist as it brings you back to your physical body. Take a deep breath in and out. Come back. Come back. Know that that golden light surrounds your heart and your mind, that you are safe, you are loved, you are centered. Gently bring your awareness back to this moment, to this place. Be fully present in the magnificence of you. Breathe in. Breathing in the breath of life that animates your soul into your body. Breathe out. With each breath, you feel yourself at one with your mind, your body, and your soul. Be fully present in the beauty of life. And when you feel ready, just gently, gently open your eyes and smile. So welcome back. Just gently, gently come back. So I hope that meditation helped, and it helped you to understand a different way of communicating with animals. Make it more symbolic, energetic, vibrational, resonant, because it will open up doorways into much more information than just words. We don't want to give meaning to things because that's so limiting. We want to open up to a greater wisdom. And yes, finding meanings, using words, can help the mind to feel safer. And when the mind feels safe, it will more likely get out of the way so that you can feel more with your heart. But we've all got so used to wanting the meaning of something because we feel that that's more real. But what if the energetic world is what creates what we perceive to be reality? Well, of course it does, because everything is created twice, first in the energetic realm and then in the physical realm. Nothing can exist in the physical realm without first existing energetically, as a dream, as an idea, as a desire. Did anyone see or sense or feel anything? And what animal came? Anyone want to write anything in the chat? Whatever messages came through, where did you feel them in your body? And you don't have to write them in the chat. These are all things that you can journal about as well. And always remember that you are not imagining things. You are remembering a natural ability. Let this become your new normal. We are so caught up in allowing the outside world to dictate how we think and feel. And if you look too much at the outside world at the moment, we'll all go crazy because everything is changing. Everything is breaking down. Well, the systems that no longer work for us are breaking down. And so let's create new ways to be in the world, kinder, more curious ways, where we're kinder to ourselves and to others, where we fill ourselves up so that we never feel the need to take anything or need anything from another human or animal or nature. And what is Hayley saying here? I sat down by a tree that I sat with before, and my pet came to sit on my lap. Yeah. And that's beautiful. How wonderful. And that's it. It's a different way of communicating. And it will take some time. And maybe in the future someone will create an app or software, or artificial intelligence will, and it's not really artificial because intelligence is just intelligence. Again, the same life force flows through that. It is the humans that are programming it that make things limited, but we do that anyway. How much are you programmed? How much do you program yourself with your belief? And so it does take a little bit of time and effort to begin to communicate differently. So know that if a song came, Hayley, music is vibration. That's why we have sound healing. And maybe you can try playing the song to your animal and see what happens. Or try playing it and listening to it yourself. Maybe there's some words in there for you. Thank you, Hayley. So, life is changing. And so we have to learn to change and flow with it. Yes, so do that, Hayley. Just play. Just have some fun. Life has a habit of becoming, difficult and hard for a lot of us. So we want to learn to play and have fun and enjoy life. Enjoy things instead of trying to get people to make us feel good or animals to make us feel good. Make yourself feel good. Learn about yourself. It's an old axiom, know thyself. It's been around for a very, very long time, and it's was written over the entrance to the oracle at Delphi. Socrates said, know thyself. It is the most important. But knowing yourself is not about knowing your mind. It's about knowing you. Why do I feel this way? What's triggering me? Why am I being triggered? Get to know you. What does it feel like to be happy? What does it feel like to be angry? And I know that all seems a bit overly simplified, but do you know that? Could you explain that to someone? So get to know you. Your job is to do you this life, and then share that with all of us, because your perspective is needed. Your energy is needed. And you are worthy because you are here. You would not exist here if you were not worthy. So don't argue with existence. You are worthy. There's nothing you need to prove. And you are enough right now. And in the next moment, you'll know more, and you'll be enough then. You are love, and you are loved. I just want to say thank you. Thank you, thank you. It's been an honour and a pleasure. Thank you all so much for being here. I hope that we all have our beautiful interactions with our animals, and that you have a beautiful time over the next week. And I will see you all next week. Lots of love, everyone. See you.